Hey everyone, I'm Jen Benson, State Director for AARP Massachusetts, and I want to welcome you to this Tele-town hall on behalf of AARP Massachusetts. Today, we're going to talk about how to support the loved ones in your lives. We're joined by Robin Lipson. She is the Secretary of the Executive Office of Age and Independence. If you would like to ask a question, press *3 on your telephone keypad. So don't forget, press *3 on your keypad in order to get in the queue to ask your question. This morning, we're talking about family caregiving, some supports that may help you if you're currently one of the 780,000 family caregivers who live in Massachusetts, and a new piece of legislation that aims to put in additional supports. Massachusetts House Bill 3159 and Massachusetts Senate Bill 1938, an act supporting family caregivers. With us today is Secretary Robin Lipson. She leads the team responsible for supporting the Commonwealth's older adults in living independently and thriving throughout the aging process. With approximately 1.7 million older adults and 1 million family caregivers in Massachusetts, AGE provides quality aging-related resources to support individuals to live and thrive in their communities. Lipson, a family caregiver herself to her 95-year-old mom, is dedicated to making Massachusetts a great place to grow up and grow older for all. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to speak with our members today. Welcome, Secretary Lipson.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you all so much for having me. I am really delighted to be here to talk about family caregiving. As Jen mentioned, this is an issue that I think about nearly all the time. In my day job, I lead an agency which has prioritized supporting family caregivers as part of our work. And by night and weekend, I'm the daughter of a 95-year-old who is fiercely and stubbornly independent, but at the age of 95 benefits from some assistance. And she does incredibly well until there's a health incident or some other thing going on, and then suddenly she needs the support of a caregiver. So I know what many listeners go through on a day-to-day basis. As I said a minute ago, this is a top priority for the Healey-Driscoll administration. And that is in part because of the sheer numbers of people who are caregivers, as Jen mentioned, just shy of about 1 million people in Massachusetts. And one of the things that our agency does is we offer this amazing program that many caregivers may not be aware of, and it's called the Family Caregiver Support Program. And this is a very simple support. You may not be aware of it. It's a great option if you're just beginning your caregiving journey and don't know where to start, or you've been caregiving for a while but could use a little support for yourself. The program's free, and it connects caregivers with a caregiver specialist who provides information, useful tips and resources, and other means of support to family caregivers. The caregiver specialist will listen to your specific situation and give you one-on-one advice to manage your caregiving responsibilities. The specialist can even help create a customized care plan for your loved one. And if there are any caregiving workshops, support groups, or respite opportunities in your area, the caregiver specialist will share those with you. The program is delivered through a network of regional aging services access points, and we will give you the information to be in touch with your local access point at some point during the call. And to be eligible for the program, all you have to do is be an unpaid family caregiver caring for a loved one who's 60 and older, or any age if they are living with Alzheimer's or dementia, or if you happen to be a grandparent or kinship caregiver over the age of 55 and you're caring for a relative who's a minor or an adult with a disability, you are also eligible for this program. So it's very, very broad. And there's been some great success for caregivers who participate in this program, and I just thought I'd share 2 examples to give you a sense of what happens. One woman came to us after her husband was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, and he needed 24/7 care. Through the program, she was connected with a behavioral health counselor to help herself manage the emotional weight of caring for a spouse with such a life-changing diagnosis. She also received respite support and gift cards to purchase fresh produce and vegetables to ease the burden of the economic demands of caregiving for her in her situation. Another case we saw was a man who was connected with us to receive help caring for his father. But one of the questions that the caregiver specialist asked is if he was caring for anyone else. And that's when he learned he was not only caring for his father, but also his mother and his grandson at the same time. And we refer to that as a sandwich caregiver, caregivers who are taking care of people in two or more generations. He shared what he was looking for, and we connected him with training and a support group. And we were also able to connect his father with home-delivered meals and a homemaker to come in and help him keep his dwelling clean. So there are lots of services available out there that caregivers may not realize are available to support themselves and their loved ones. And the caregiver specialist is a trained professional who can help point to all the relevant information. It's a great place to start. And then the other thing I want to share, just very big picture, is because there's an increasing number of caregivers in Massachusetts, the Healey-Driscoll administration is very, very dedicated to supporting family caregivers. And Massachusetts actually recently received almost $500,000 in federal funding to specifically support caregivers and to innovate in that area. And this funding will allow us to create some new innovative policies to help caregivers improve their economic security and to hopefully also help them reduce their level of burnout. So stay tuned for more on that, but just wanted you to have a sense that at the more strategic level, we're trying to make some innovations and improvements in the system so that more caregivers can benefit from support.
Well, thank you, Madam Secretary. That was great. And to explain the program that you administer and the state administers is really helpful information. I'm sure that there are a lot of people who don't know that exists. So thanks so much. And I want to remind everybody, press *3 if you have a question for the Secretary or me on anything we're talking about today. So don't forget *3. So we at AARP Massachusetts are working closely with you and the agency, or the Secretariat, I should say, around supporting all of these family caregivers in Massachusetts. And we're not alone. There are 53 million Americans who are family caregivers. So that's a lot of people spending, resources of their own, their time, and honestly, the mental and physical effects that has on folks. At the federal level, we're urging Congress to pass the Credit for Caring Act. And here in the Bay State, we're urging legislators to pass a comprehensive bill to support family caregivers. It touches on a lot of what you just heard the Secretary outline. We know that family caregivers spend approximately $7,200 out of their own pockets to support the ones they love, and the unpaid care they provide is valued at, for the state, more than $15 billion in Massachusetts alone. Before we get started, I wanted to give listeners a couple of pieces of information regarding the bill. So if you have questions on either the bill or anything else that's going on at the state level around caregiving, you'll have some information. So House Bill 3159 and Senate Bill 1938 would create a refundable $1,500 tax credit for eligible caregivers, increase respite care vouchers, allow spouses to be paid as caregivers in the personal care attendant program, allow caregivers who need to leave their job to get unemployment benefits, include caregivers as a protected group from workplace discrimination, and establish a permanent commission to investigate trends and supports as needed in the future. So if you've participated in one of our Tele-town halls before, it's very similar to a radio talk show, and you have the opportunity to ask questions and get answers live today. If you would like to ask a question, remember again, *3 on your telephone keypad to be connected with an AARP staff member or volunteer who will note your name and question and place you in the queue to ask that question live. Again, press *3 to get in the queue. So, Madam Secretary, as we're working on, people are getting in the queue, and I see that starting to go. I want to just, first of all, thank you for all the work that you've been doing here in Massachusetts. I think you've been on the forefront of this issue and have been a great partner. So, you mentioned the supports from the state. So, coordinating everything from meals to medical appointments can cause stress. Are there ways to help if someone I love is struggling with their emotional health as they try to balance family, work, and caregiving responsibilities?
Yes, I mean, that's a great question because I think that is actually what really weighs on a caregiver's ability to continue, is that the juggling and the stress are sometimes overwhelming. And one of the benefits of joining a caregiver support group is you may find yourself in a situation with people who are having similar experiences. And it is remarkable to be part of a community where people understand what you're talking about. And so I think that is a very simple thing that people can do, is to become part of a support group where you can get resources, where you can get questions answered, but where you can also laugh with people who have some of the same challenges or circumstances. So for me, that's kind of number one. I think the second thing is there's an enormous amount of information available on our website, and we can certainly give out that information whenever you're ready for me to do that, Jen. But just trying to understand what resources are available. So if you are caring for someone with dementia, even if that's early stage, you may want to take advantage of some of the resources available that would help you tactically address some behavioral challenges that you may be having with your loved one, or how to deal with the frustration of someone asking you the same question over and over again. So understanding what information is out there and what relief is out there, I think is really, really key.
Great. So I think you might be interested in the results of this poll. We're just going to quickly ask folks on your telephone. You can answer this question. Please indicate if you are currently or have been a caregiver. If yes, press 1 for currently, press 2 for in the past, press 3 that you expect to be in the future. So 1, you're a current caregiver, 2, in the past you've been a caregiver, or 3, you expect to be in the future. So please answer that on your keypad, and we will start taking questions, and then we'll get back to the results momentarily. So, Ted, do we have a question?
Yes, we do. Let's go to Marguerite. She's calling from Marlborough. Hello, Marguerite.
Hello.
Hey, Marguerite. What's your question for the secretary? Or me? Hello?
Hello.
Marguerite?
Yes.
Hi. Hi, please ask your question.
Hi. My daughter has been a caregiver for me, and she lost her job because they wouldn't let her, before we were made to quarantine. She was going to told them she was going to wear a mask because she was taking care of me. And they said that they wouldn't let her do that, so she lost her job. Well, right now she still, does take care of me. She does all the housework and the cooking because I'm unable, and I'm pretty independent, so she doesn't have to do, a lot of other things, but she does take care of the house and cooking. I just can't do the cooking and cleaning any longer. And so I just want to know if she could get paid, would it be through my Social Security deduction, or would it be from an agency or whatever?
Wow, Marguerite, you have just asked so many questions in one question. Thank you for that. And first, I want to thank you for acknowledging that your daughter is a caregiver, and for lifting that up. It is just really beautiful to understand and to hear you acknowledge that what she does really makes a critical difference in your life. And I'm sorry that her journey perhaps wasn't compatible with being employed. Let me just talk for a minute about working, I'll just say outside the home in a non-caregiving job for a moment. What has really happened here in the last year or two in Massachusetts is employers, many employers, have begun to recognize how incredibly valued their employees are who also happen to be family caregivers. I think the one thing that all family caregivers have in common is they don't have enough time, and they are wildly efficient and wildly effective. And employers don't want to lose those people for the most part. And employers are working very, very hard through a statewide caregiving coalition to find strategies to help support caregivers so that they can continue to work in the workplace. And I don't know about your daughter's specific circumstances, but we are seeing employers really lean into flexible hours, taking some time off, changing work schedules, providing some support groups on site at work for employees who are caregivers. So I'm sorry if that was not available to your daughter, but I do want people to understand that many, many employers in Massachusetts have recognized this as a very important talent acquisition and retention issue to keep those great employees who are caregivers. To the second part of your question about whether your daughter can be paid as a caregiver, that's also a complicated question, but there is part of an answer that is fairly simple, which is that if she were to work for a home care agency, she might be able to be paid through whatever program might support your home care services. So if you were eligible for the state-run home care program and your daughter worked for a home care agency, or if you needed a personal care attendant through the Mass Health program and your daughter worked through a home health agency, there might be a path for her to be paid. But it's a complex question you're asking, and I don't think I would have an easy answer for you on this call. We can certainly circle back and give you more information afterwards if that would be helpful. But really appreciate you asking this question.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Marguerite. One thing I will bring up in the legislation we have filed at AARP is to make caregivers a protected class so that workplace discrimination hopefully wouldn't happen, or there would be some recourse if it did happen. And so I think that's your daughter losing her job due to the caregiving support she was giving to you. That may have been something that this legislation would have helped with. So hopefully in the future, if we can get this passed here in Massachusetts, that would be a help. So I just want to quickly give out the poll results. So 48% of the people on the call are currently caregivers. 35% have been in the past, and 17% believe in the future that they will be a caregiver. Ken, do we have another question?
Sure. Let's go to, I believe it's Carol in Springfield. Hello, Carol.
Hi.
Ask away.
Oh,
Hi,
what
Sarah.
is the name of the program? Family Caregiver Support or Family Caregiver? And could I have the phone number or the website?
Yes, Carol, thank you. The name of the program is the Massachusetts Family Caregiver Support Program, and there are two ways to get there. If you want to find your local aging services access point, you can go to our website, and I'll say it a few times. It's mass.gov, so mass.gov, which stands for Massachusetts Government. So mass.gov, the backslash, which is that diagonal line, aging. So mass.gov/aging, and then you click on the box that says find your aging services access point. You type in your town, and a map will show you where your access point is and give you the contact information. The other thing you can do, which might be easier, is you can call Mass Options, which is our call center. You can call them Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and that number is 800-243-4636. So again, 800-243-4636. And again, all the information about our agency is at mass.gov/aging.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and thanks for calling in. If you are attending and would like to ask a question, please remember to press *3 on your phone keypad, and you will get to talk with one of our staffers or volunteers in order to get in the queue. So please press *3 on your phone keypad to ask us a question. Ted, who's our next questioner?
Let's go to another Carol. This is in Easton, North Easton. Oops. Just lost that person. Let's take a, going to need a minute. We'll get back to you with more questions.
All right, got you. I want to ask another poll. We're gathering this information. It helps us inform what is currently happening out there. So thank you for your participation. But our next poll is, what supports would be most helpful to you? Press 1 for tax credits. Press 2 for respite vouchers. Press 3 for in-home care. And press 4 for workplace supports. So that's a 1 for tax credits, 2 for respite vouchers, 3 for in-home care, and 4 for workplace supports. And please remember to dial *3 to ask a question. So let's see. Oh, I think we have some questions coming in virtually. I've heard in some states spouses can be paid to take care of their spouse. Is there a way I can get paid to take care of my spouse if I live in Massachusetts?
Thanks, Jen.
Madam,
Yes, that is a great question, and it picks up a little bit on the question that was asked earlier. So let me take the most, let us talk about people who might be on Mass Health or Medicaid. We call it Mass Health in this state. We have a very broad Mass Health program in this state, which pays for in-home supports for older adults, for people with disabilities who need help to live in the community. But unfortunately, the current provisions of our state Mass Health program does not permit spouses to be paid caregivers of those who need those services. However, if that family member were able to work for a home health agency, they could provide personal care services to the person who needs care. So basically, the family caregiver would become a trained and paid worker through a home health agency. So that's probably the most common solution to that challenge that you are raising. Other family members are more easily paid. So we have situations where a granddaughter may be serving as a personal care attendant or a consumer-directed worker to someone who needs care. So the real challenge is threading the needle for a spouse, where the rules are just a little more strict.
Got it. Thank you. That was a great answer. I want to let you know what the results were from that poll I just asked. 21% said tax credits would be the most helpful. 26% said respite vouchers. 47% said in-home care. So that is a big number. 6% said workplace supports. Thanks, everyone, for answering. It sounds like in-home care is the winner here, Madam Secretary.
Yes, that is my experience as well. It's interesting. There's some research that shows that if you are a family caregiver, and if you have in-home support so that you have ways to take care of yourself, there are all kinds of protective factors if you're a caregiver. So for me, a big protective factor for me is that I have this job, which is very intense, but that is a protective factor for me. When I am working, I am not in the caregiver swirl, and that kind of puts some credits in my account, if you will, emotionally and physically. So it is really important for people to find supports for their loved one. It may be in-home care. It may be calling your local council on aging and seeing if they have a program where you can go do something and the person you're taking care of can go do something different. If the person that you're caring for has Alzheimer's, the Alzheimer's Association has memory cafes and other kinds of programs where, again, you can go do something for yourself while the person you are caring for can be doing something different. And those are all ways for you to put, a little bit of juice back into your tank and take care of yourself by not constantly being the only person caring for this person 24/7.
That's really good advice and important to remember. One thing I will say is the paid family medical leave that we have here in Massachusetts provides financial support for family caregivers if you need to take time out of work. We are having a live webinar about PFML. You can register at www.aarp.org/MA. So there you can register for this webinar Thursday, May 29th from 12 to 1. It's a free online event. And we're going to be talking about PFML. This program allows caregivers to take time off of work for loved ones without losing income, ensuring that you can care for someone facing the challenge of juggling work and family obligations while also caring for a family member, a new child, or managing your own serious medical condition. So the Commonwealth's PFML program provides temporary income replacement and job protections to eligible workers when they need it most. So please join us along with the Department of Family Medical Leave in Massachusetts. We'll have 2 representatives from the department joining us to give you real answers about the program and how you or your family member can take paid leave for up to 26 weeks in a benefit year, and how that can be structured to best meet your individual needs. So that is on May 29th at 12 o'clock, and you can register at www.aarp.org/MA. Hey, Ted, we have another question, I think.
Yes, we do. Let's go to Maria, who's calling us from Worcester. Hello, Maria.
Yes, good afternoon. My question is that I have my granddaughter, 10 years old, that I'm taking care of. And I wanted to know if there are any help that can be given, like it is coming to summer. I'm trying to get her on a program, but every program that I go into is over $250 a week plus. To get her into these programs, I try to have my daughter take her into places like on a weekend, and I do everything for her. And also, I have my daughter come to help me with my housework, my ADLs, and cooking and stuff, because I'm not able to do it as I used to do it anymore. So I wanted to know if there is any help for my daughter and for my granddaughter that I take care of.
Thank you, Maria. Again, thank you for recognizing how your support system works and the role that your daughter plays and the role that you play in supporting your daughter and your granddaughter. Did you say that you are in the Worcester area?
Yes, ma'am. I'm in Worcester.
Okay. I think your first call should be to Senior Connections, and somebody will be able to pull up the phone number for them. They do a lot of work with grandparents and kin who are helping to raise grandchildren, and I hope that they would understand what some of the resources are in the Worcester area. They're very focused on central Massachusetts, and I would hope that they would have some ideas for you. So I'm going to assume that one of the amazing people on the phone can give you that phone number, and if not, we'll get it to you. But great question, and thank you for sharing that.
Okay.
Great, and I do have the phone number right here.
Thank you.
50, no problem. 508-852-5539. So that's 508-852-5539. Thank you, Maria. Oh, I guess she's already off. I missed that. So, Madam Secretary, we're talking a lot about the nuts and bolts of caregiving. But one of the big questions we get at AARP is, what if you have issues with the physical space you're in and need some sort of accommodation? Are there any resources out there that might help people deal with this issue?
That is a fantastic question. That issue impacts so many people. I would say your first call should be to your local council on aging, which is run in your town, and they would be kind of your 411 for what is available to you locally. Sometimes there are programs with local schools and vocational high schools to help, for instance, build a ramp or to put in a railing. So that is one place to go. The second place to go is if you have, depending on what kind of health insurance you have, some of the Medicare Advantage plans and other insurance plans want very much to support people to be in their homes. And so talking to your health plan and a case manager within that health plan to say, I'm worried that so-and-so is at risk of falling on stairs. We just need a little help to improve the physical environment. They may have resources for you as well. And
That's
probably
great.
AARP has lots of ideas too, Jen, I would think.
Oh, yes. Well, first of all, we do offer educational webinars regarding looking at your home and preparing as you're aging, what you might consider and not consider. For Other resources around caregiving for AARP, we have a toll-free caregiver support line where staff will guide you to resources. You can call 1-877-333-5885 or 1-888-971-2013 for help in Spanish. And that support line is available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So thank you for the Secretary for outlining some of the supports here. And you are welcome to, and I encourage you to look at the resources through AARP. Ted, do we have another question?
I think we do. Let's just check in if we can get to Claudette, who's in Marshfield, but I think it's going to be another second before we can get to her.
Okay,
So
no problem.
Madam, why don't we take a moment?
Okay.
Go for it, Jen.
Okay. Madam Secretary, I'm really interested, and I think a lot of people probably have noticed the name change of the Secretariat and the work you've been doing around aging in Massachusetts and how this rebranding of the Secretariat really captures the work you're doing.
Well, thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk about that, Jen. For those of you who follow, state government geography, the agency that I lead was for a long time called the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. It's a 50-year-old name. It was a 50-year-old name. And we did not think that it was a very accurate description of what we did. In fact, when we went out and spoke with people in communities and asked them, gee, have you heard of the Executive Office of Elder Affairs? Do you have any idea what they do? They would kind of say, no. And then the second thing they would tell us is that they don't like being referred to as elderly. Fair. But when we told them what we did, things like running the Family Caregiver Support Program or the Home Care Program or meals programs, they were super interested in those services. And so what was really important to other folks or to older people and their families was that we used language that kind of dignified what was going on and reflected the fact that people really wanted to remain independent. So we changed the name earlier this year to the Executive Office of Aging and Independence because we can just talk about older people as older people. We don't have to call them the elderly. And we can make sure that our name reflects what people want most, which is to remain independent.
That's great. And part of remaining independent is being able to age in place. Can you give maybe a quick overview of the types of home care programs that are offered through local community agencies or others?
Yes. Again, if you go back to mass.gov/aging, you will be able to see all the kinds of supports that we provide. So Jen specifically asked about in-home supports. We do have a home care program that provides people support with taking care of their home. So if, for instance, you have someone who lives alone and they're terribly arthritic and they can't keep their home clean, or they can fold the laundry, but they can't get the laundry down the stairs to the washing machine, or they can prepare food, but they can't get to the store, the home care program would help with some of those supports. They can also help people who need some help with their activities of daily living, such as bathing and ambulating and dressing. We also have programs that help people with nutritional security and food security. These may be people who are fairly independent, but may not be able to get out of the house to get food or may not be able to make food. And so we have a meals program. We also run the program to investigate any allegations of state elder abuse. So that's called Adult Protective Services. We talked about the Family Caregiver Support Program. We also have an Elder Behavioral Support Program, which you can access through those access points that we talked about before.
Great. Ted, is Claudia ready to ask her question?
Yes, but it's Caroline. I made a mistake. Let's go to Caroline in Marshfield. Hello, Caroline.
Hi. I was just listening before. I am the person that needs the caretaking. I'm planning ahead because I have really bad arthritis, and I'm probably going to have back surgery. And my home, I think we were talking a little bit earlier about it, I can't find any help. I have an upstairs and a downstairs. I just fall in that category between I have too much money that I don't get any help, but I really don't have enough money. So, I'd like stair things. I've called the Council on Aging where I live, the Elder Services, I think it's Old Colony here in Plymouth County, and I'm just wondering what kind of services that I can try to find. I can take care of myself right now, but I've already fallen down the stairs outside once. So, help.
Thank you for that question, and thank you for sharing your situation and being really very self-aware of what your risks are. I think you are pointing to something that is a common issue in Massachusetts. We have old cities, old housing stock. We don't have these big developments like they have out west, with one-story dwellings. It is very, very hard to find places where you can live on a first floor. I personally live in a very vertical house, which has proven challenging as various people have had orthopedic calamities over the years. So I really understand it. And honestly, one of the things that enables my 95-year-old mom to stay at home is that she has a ranch and she doesn't have to deal with stairs. So I think you've done all the right things. I will take a look after this call and see what else is available on the South Shore. I think there are, some remedies like ramps, like stair lifts, but they can be expensive. And you also have to ask yourself the question about, whether you get all these things in your home, whether you then become so isolated because you can manage in your home, but you really aren't in a bigger community where you can get out and about. So I think it's a complicated set of decisions to make, and not one that I could answer easily on this call. But I think you are asking all the right questions, and I agree with you. It is very, very challenging.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for calling in and asking your question, Caroline. Don't forget, if you'd like to ask a question in our last few minutes, *3 on your telephone keypad, and you'll get into the queue to ask your question of the Secretary or of AARP. So I'm sure, Madam Secretary, you are hearing these stories over and over and over again. How does it work within the agencies in your office, translating these into the programs you do provide, because you do provide a lot? Is there a standing manner to go through and update? How does that work?
That is such a wonderful question, because you know full well that we have a wonderful process for this. So thank you for that question. I really believe that our job is to support communities in what matters most to them. And we have worked hard over the past, 8 years or so to really help communities understand what older residents want and need, and to then help them prioritize that work. So we very frequently, and we just finished this a year ago, we went around the state and we ask people, like, what matters to you? And honestly, one of the reasons that caregiving is a priority is people said caregiving really matters. Having age-friendly cities and towns really matters. So of the 350 communities in Massachusetts, more than 200 of them have raised their hands and said, we want to be more age-friendly. We want to have policies that support people of all ages and that help people remain in their community. And so we take that information and we feed it back into our priorities. And AARP has been an incredibly important and foundational partner in this work. But we have seen examples of communities take on things like the issue that our caller from Marshfield just called about, removing barriers and making housing more accessible. Thinking about walking paths and that they maybe need to be lit. It's one thing to have a path through town, but what if the lights aren't on at night? Nobody's going to use it all winter. And so to do things like think about recreation areas and how can they be used by people of all ages. So this work has become really foundational for communities, and we put out a lot of our funding that we get from the legislature back to communities so that they can support those priorities. So it's really all about hearing from people like those of you on this call and your neighbors and your friends and your relatives. It really all starts with you folks.
That's great. And we've really enjoyed working with you and your staff on making the state livable for all. AARP Massachusetts also works with individual cities and towns to create plans and to make your city or town a livable community. And that's something that we love doing. We believe it has a direct impact on the people living in those towns and, of course, across the state. And so you can check in with your Council on Aging and find out if you're in a certified livable community. If you have feedback for your town, you always go through your local Council on Aging. That's what they're there for. And thank you for the information and the thoughtfulness, Secretary Lipson. I think you've been very forthright in your answers, and I so appreciate that. For, I think, maybe a final question, if you could give one or two tips for family caregivers, what would you say?
Well, one thing we haven't talked about, two things we haven't talked about. First is, do yourself the favor of acknowledging that you are a caregiver, right? Sometimes I go out and speak, and I think Jen has had this experience too, and you ask people in the room how many of you are caregivers, and nobody raises their hand. And then you ask people, well, do you help make meals for someone, or do you do someone's housekeeping, or do you pick up prescriptions for someone, or do you pay people's bills to help them remain independent? And then all of a sudden, all the hands go up. So those people are all caregivers. So acknowledge that you are a caregiver, and recognize that there may be support for you. The second thing I would say, and we haven't really touched on this, is we offer a free training program to become a homemaker, which is kind of an entry-level home health aide. It is a 40-hour course. It is free. You can take it at your own pace. You can take it on your phone. You can take it on your computer. You can take it at 2 in the morning. You can take it at 2 in the afternoon. You can take that course not necessarily just because you want a job. You can take that course just to help you feel more comfortable as a caregiver. And lots of people do that. So I want to give you the website for that. It's mahomecaretraining.org to learn more. And you can just enroll in that course. You can take all of it. You can take some of it. You can flip around the curriculum. But many, many, many people have found that comfortable to give them some confidence as they move forward with their caregiving responsibilities. So again, that website is mahomecaretraining.org to learn more.
Thank you. And I agree with you on both of those items, but the labeling yourself or recognizing that you are a caregiver, all the data that we have on family caregivers, we believe is below actuals because so many people don't self-identify as a caregiver, even though they're doing that work. And that work is work. So we had talked earlier about how many caregivers there are in Massachusetts and how much that is a savings for the state of over $15 billion. But if you look at it on a national level, family caregivers provide an estimated 36 billion hours of care for a family member. And this is valued, the U.S. values this at $600 billion of work, of hours of work that's provided in the United States. We're a big group. I'm a family caregiver. I know, Secretary, you talked about your family caregiving story. There's a lot of us, and the work we do matters. It matters to your family and your loved one, but it matters to your community and the state and the entire United States. This is critical care. I want to, first of all, thank everyone for joining us today. We had a lot of attendees, and I want to thank you for calling in and listening. I want to remind everyone that we have a paid family medical leave webinar where you can register at www.aarp.org/MA. And that's on Thursday, May 29th at noon. It's a free event. It's an hour, and you can ask your questions of experts from the Massachusetts Department of Family and Medical Leave. We'll have two folks ready to answer your questions. So please call in for that or log in for the webinar at www.aarp.org/MA. So, and for questions, if you have questions, you can contact us at AARP Massachusetts at maAARP@aarp.org. So email us any questions you may have. So as we're wrapping up at the end, first of all, I have to thank everyone for calling in. You're why we do this, and we want to answer your questions and provide the best information we can. And we've been talking with our special guest, the Secretary of the Executive Office of Aging and Independence, Robin Lipson. And as you heard today, she is a font of information. She takes this work extremely seriously. We have enjoyed working with her and her staff, who are just the best and the brightest working in our government today. I want to recognize the service that you provide and thank you for it. So we're nearing the end of our call. Secretary Lipson, I would love for you to, if you have any closing comments or thoughts that you'd like to share.
Thank you, Jen. Really only one thought or one thing I want to convey to you all. If you are caregivers listening, I want you to know that we see you and we hear you, and you may think you are invisible, but you are not. We know you are a critical foundation for supporting all the people in the state who need assistance. And we want to support you so that you can continue to do that work. So thank you very, very much for having me.
Thank you so much. That was great. And once again, I want to thank you, Secretary Lipson, for joining us. Thanks to all the participants in the discussion on this important topic. We apologize if we were not able to answer your question, but I think we actually did get through all the questions today. AARP has made it a top priority to advocate for America's more than 53 million family caregivers who do everything from performing medical tasks to arranging meals and overseeing finances for their loved ones. We continue to push for state and federal measures that would ease the strain on those unpaid caregivers. You can also obtain valuable information throughout the year through the AARP magazine, AARP bulletin, and on our website at aarp.org/MA. And you can reach the AARP Massachusetts office anytime, toll free at 1-866-448-3621. That's 1-866-448-3621. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.